Well, this has been an interesting couple of weeks in my house. We had a guest not long ago in the house for overnight, and we've been having a little difficulty with our guest room shower valve. And it decided to seize up, and our poor guest had to leave without taking a shower. So I called up the plumber, and the plumber needed to saw through the wall and get to all of the plumbing behind there and put in a new valve and make sure everything works great. And it does. But I ended up with a pretty ragged looking hole in the wall. And it was a case of, do I want to fill in this back in with drywall? Or should I put a door in it so that the next people that have the house can have easy access to that plumbing if they need it? So I decided on a door. And that's what I've got. But just as I was starting that, my 40-year-old, almost 40-year-old table saw decided to stop working. The motor just plain burned out, and there were actually things broken on the saw. So there was an opportunity to actually purchase a new saw, which I did. And I see that there was a pretty nice looking one in Home Depot. And it wasn't nearly as much money as I thought it would be, with the sort of features that I really wanted to have. So I ordered that up, and it got here finally, and it took me a while to get it put together, and then it took me a little longer to get it set up so that it's actually cutting in a straight line and that sort of thing. And I love having the saw, but it's really set me back for quite some time. But I do have a new door on a jagged hole in a closet space that looks pretty nice. So that's what this is about. Actually getting some work done, finally. Well, this is our second bathroom, other than the master bath. And this house, being 33 or 34 years old, has some maintenance issues now. And the tub shower system had a problem with the valve. So we've got a brand new valve in there that cost a bunch of money and a hole in the wall. And I suppose I could just plaster over that and paint it up because it's in the middle of a closet. But it'll happen again sometime, so I think what I'll do is put a door on it. Small project. Next one up. I decided to use reclaimed stock during this project, and I had quite a bit of molding left over from my family room project that was all painted up. It was the wrong size, but I can easily put things together and saw things up and make a good showing in this one. So this is completely in keeping with the flavor of this project, which is using reclaimed materials everywhere, as far as I can. And so I had some more of this leftover stock that had some paint on it. And I think it'll just be big enough. And by just be big enough, I had to put 1/8 of an inch extra on it, but that's pretty close.
This is the door I'm going up, by the way.
I'm going to square up the ends of the doors just a little bit. They're pretty close, but just shave them a little bit. Well, I've decided that this looks like pretty good spacing for the hinges on this, and I determined it's going to be 4 inches from the corners on up to these small hinges. So I'm going to lay this out pretty carefully and mortise those in. Had an interesting comment on a relatively recent video I put up that why was I making a hand tool because I never used them, and I thought that was kind of an unusual thing for me to read. And then I started to think about the videos that I put up, and most of them do have power tools in them. And in my early days I used a lot of hand tools. I thought that was the coolest thing ever, to use hand tools. And then I started to need to make them a little quicker. So I became less of a purist. But this little Stanley 71 router plane has been with me for, it could easily be 45 years. That I would have purchased in Boston, probably at Woodcrafter's Supply. And it's the only way to do what I'm doing right now. There's just no other accurate way to cut a midget mortise like this. Well, it's not actually a mortise, I guess, in a very technical sense. But I want it to be the right depth. And this is the tool. So I'll break the sharp edges on this and then proceed on to putting some paint onto the bare wood. So of course I've built this door to fit a square opening, but if you know anything about cutting drywall with a keyhole saw, nothing's square. So I actually have to take off this shelf brace right here, and I can just barely see that line right next to my finger, and then that should be fairly square with the one down below it. Okay, right like that is looking pretty good. It's still a little cattywampus compared to the opening, but that's nice and level right there. And by the way, the next thing that goes up there is going to be that, which covers up the hole. And near and dear to John Heiss's heart, I'm going to put this up with construction adhesive. So here it is with the shelves in place. Need a little touch up, fill in the holes and clean off the little slop from the clamps. But in 30 years time, when they need to get in there and replace that, it'll be easy to do. Well, this little piece that I'm going to do right now doesn't really go anywhere, so I thought I'd just tack it on the back of this one, and you can either watch it or not watch it. But it's really the tail end of the chest of drawers that I made. And if you recall, over in this area here, I had a whole rat's nest full of, it was a metal shelving unit that was just full of stuff, some tools and bolts and screws and things that I really couldn't categorize, taking up space, and I was just kind of beside myself, and that was really the reason that I wanted to make my chest of drawers. And it has so cleaned up that end of the workshop that I'm just pleased as anything about it. And I did mention that I got a new saw, and there's one, and I'm now recognizing that a lot of YouTube woodworkers have this particular saw, and it's a nice one. And bringing around, you can see that I've pulled a bunch of things out from there and cleaned that work surface up. And then my chest of drawers, which you saw behind me in the opening sequence of this little door that I was making, is all full of stuff. And it was no small chore to figure out what I wanted to keep and where I wanted to put things. But I'm far better off with what I've got now. And I think I'm going to open a hardware store, because I can't believe the amount of 1/4 inch bolts and 3/8 inch bolts that I've got that I'm probably never going to use. But they're categorized now. All the little bits and pieces of screws have homes now. Some bits and pieces of bolts and washers and nuts have homes now. This is a lot of bits and pieces of screws, but at least I know where they are, and I don't have to walk over to the other side of the workshop to find them. They're right behind my workbench. Rags, tools, and glues in the bottom drawer. So I'm pretty happy with the way things are now. It's been a long time getting my shop put together, although my wife points out that I'm not done yet. But thanks for staying with me. This is Tom Stevens. Come on back. I'll have something again sometime.